Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest development. And before we get into this week's episode, I am so excited to share with you a project I have been working on for months, which is my docu-series called You Are Multidimensional. You see, society tries to label us into a box, trying to tell us to only be one thing. And even through my own experience of becoming an Ayurvedic author, I ended up putting myself into another box. And in this docu-series, for the first time, I really reveal it all. I bring you into my personal home in Miami, and I share with you the lessons that I have learned along the way of being true to myself, my inner artist, my inner visionary, my inner creatrix, and how it's possible for you to create a life, a living, a career that is in alignment with your full multidimensional self, where all of you is invited and no part of you is random or needs to be hidden, but rather is part of your day-to-day, because the truth is life is too short to confine yourself to just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And there are so many more parts of yourself that you just have not yet gotten to explore. So this docu-series, You Are Multidimensional, was crafted to remind you that you are a multi-layered, multifaceted, multidimensional being, and all of you is sacred and invited. So this is absolutely free. It is available this week, so you can head over to the show notes to check it out right now. I am so excited to hear your feedback, see the revelations that comes through, share it with me over on Instagram, and again, head over to the show notes to download the docu-series, You Are Multidimensional. And without further ado, let's get into the episode. Today, I wanted to speak about how our families can be sometimes the greatest obstacle, as well as the greatest catalysts to living our soul's purpose. And I know for many of us, struggles with our families are one of the most prevalent things on our minds. They are the things that may be holding us back, the points of contention in our partnerships. And I truly believe that the unhealed traumas within our lineages, not just in this lifetime, but throughout our ancestral lineage, is really the cause of 80, maybe even 90% of the issues that we see today. For some of us, it's just a lot more apparent. So this has definitely been my personal struggle in this lifetime. I have definitely learned a great deal about ancestral trauma and the way that it is passed on intergenerationally. I will link some different podcast episodes that we've done here around healing your ancestral lineage and family constellations work. And if this resonates with you, that maybe you have a fear of, I can never live my purpose because of what my parents will think, or because no one in my lineage has ever done this before, or I'm not going to make money doing it, or things didn't work out for my parents, so why should I trust the universe when I saw the rug being swept out from underneath their feet? You know, it's a lot easier to just say, oh, I'm safe and protected, but where's the evidence? And I share all of this because I have felt it all too. So before we tune into this, I want you to feel in a safe and comfortable space, because I do feel like when we dive into ancestral work, a lot of unhealed and unprocessed trauma, again, from many lifetimes can show up. So feel in a stable emotional place before listening to this, because it can bring up some wounds and you want to be able to be self-resourced. And some practices that I really recommend as different emotions come up are breath work. That is a number one for me. So many different breath work styles out there, but just having a breathing practice where you are connecting to the natural rhythms of your body and allowing your nervous system to heal. Taking a walk outside, having a therapist, sending a voice note to a friend, doing yoga. And then there are deeper practices as well, such as family constellations work and beyond. So be self-resourced, because this is a lot, and don't feel like you ever have to get to the bottom of it today. So I'll share a little bit about my family lineage and how it affected me in living my dharma. So both of my parents came from Iran in the Middle East. And for those of you who aren't aware, Iran, when they grew up, was a really open country where you could basically have complete freedom. And then in 1979, there was an Islamic revolution where essentially a new government took over. And overnight, basically, the country had to go into strict Sharia law. So women were no longer allowed to go to school. Many things became illegal, such as music, dancing, men and women talking if they're not married, art. And there were great deals of atrocities that happened at this time. Simultaneously, the Iran-Iraq war was going on. So there were bombs being dropped on the country, and over 1 million Iranian casualties had occurred. So my family left around this revolution, my dad before, my mom after, and they did not know each other until they came to the United States. And because of that massive trauma of all of a sudden your life has completely changed, and not in a positive way. You've lost your money. You've lost your freedom. You have lost your safety. You have seen people who have died. And many countries, maybe your family has gone through some sort of war as well. The trauma runs deep. And my family did the best that they could. They moved to America and they focused on survival. You know, my dad on providing, my mom on getting her feet anchored into American society so she could help the rest of her family. Both of them really became focused on how can I be safe here to help the rest of my family get here as well. Maybe your family has done the same from Mexico or Cambodia or somewhere else. So there was no concept of going to therapy or, getting a coach or doing shadow work or family constellations. There was no conversation about this. The fact that you were here, you were in America, you were safe, means you were one of the lucky ones. And in a way, that was their blessing and their way of coping, of just keep moving forward, keep moving ahead, don't look at the past. So there was never really any looking at their wounds, the traumas that this created, the loss, their emotional well-being. It was very focused on how can I survive? So 2 years after this, I come into this world and we really are born into the unhealed traumas of our lineage. So obviously I didn't know all of this as a child, but it's felt that there is this sense of unsafety, this sense of hypervigilance, this sense that you need to make sure everything is okay because it might not be. So of course, I'm going to be very attuned to the world around me, how other people are feeling, how they're walking, because I need to know how other people are feeling in order for me to be safe. The way that my dad's trauma manifested was through anger. So I could tell by his footsteps whether he was angry and if he was going to erupt or not. And the way that my mother's trauma manifested was through worry and anxiety. So a lot of us intuitive people today became intuitive partway because of that childhood trauma, because you needed to be so hyper aware of how everyone else in your household was feeling. Because if you weren't able to predict the way that your day was going to go. You needed to know if dad was going to erupt. You needed to know if there was going to be a fight. You needed to know if mom was going to have a meltdown. And this looks different for every single family. So often we don't realize these things that we struggle with in this lifetime come from this familial lineage. So for me, when people would say, oh, just like go with the flow and trust the universe has your back and you're going to be safe. I'm like, that's not true. I have the proof and the evidence that things were not safe and well for my family, and they were not divinely supported because look at what happened to them. So I did carry this sense that things aren't necessarily going to be okay. In fact, there's a lot of fucked up shit in the world and it doesn't make sense. And maybe you're nodding along because you have felt this same way too. And I will say part of me still totally feels this as well, even today. And then there's also the awareness of, well, as fucked up as everything was, revolution, war, fleeing, lack of safety, for whatever reason, my parents met here and I was born and here I am. And I love my life and I love who I've become. And if it wasn't for all of those things, I wouldn't be here sharing with you. Do I wish all those things had to happen? No, I wish lifetimes for my parents where they never had to face traumas they needed to heal from. And here I am. And sometimes we need to realize this. And I'm never going to say that that means everything is perfect. I know that perspective of everything is perfect as it is. And that can also be really triggering when there is trauma, abuse in a lineage to say, how could that be perfect? because no one deserves that. And despite it all, here we are. So I want you to take a moment to just tune into your familial story. What was your father's life like? Did he ever have a sense of purpose? Was he told as a child to follow his dreams, or was he expected to take care of his family? What was his relationship with his father, if he had one? And if you don't have a father, whoever was a more paternal figure in your life, or if there wasn't one, then your mother or your grandmother. So looking at the masculine, the father, the provider, did this person, did they ever learn how to receive love? Did they ever learn how to give love? Were they given the childhoods that they needed to thrive? What were their biggest fears and worries? And how could this have been passed on to you? So I invite you to pause right now and just journal upon these things and anything that shows up for you regarding your paternal lineage. And now on your maternal side, what was your mother or maternal figure's childhood like? Did they have loving parents? What were they responsible for? Were they ever given the chance to be a child, or were they expected to be the caretaker from a young age? Were they able to dive into their education? Were they told to follow their dreams? What were their dreams? Were they made to feel like they are enough? Or were they never good enough? Were they taught that their worth was defined by their beauty, their children, their caretaking? Were they connected with their divine feminine? Or were they more connected with their wounded feminine? Feelings of jealousy, manipulation, woundedness. And what was their relationship with their parents, their mother especially? What wounds do you know that stem from your maternal lineage? Was there abuse? Addiction? Lack of sovereignty? So you can hit pause right now and take a few minutes to journal upon your maternal lineage and anything that has shown up for you around these questions. And taking a deep breath. You are here, you are now, you are safe. It is safe for you to know these things. You are unraveling these layers to heal. Now, looking at your life today, the common things that worry you, the fights that you might have with your partner, the things that you think about before you sleep at night. How could these be at all related to your paternal or maternal lineages? Where did the seed start? You can hit pause now and take a few moments to journal. Now, tuning into your truth, your expression, your dharma, your soul's purpose. What is holding you back from living it? How is this now related to some of the seeds in your paternal lineage? How is this related now to some of the seeds in your maternal lineage? How are you here to bring healing to your lineage by living your soul's purpose? How is you living your soul's purpose the ultimate healing to your lineage? Taking a deep breath in and exhaling out. shaking off your body, releasing any stagnant energy, any emotion that you were holding on to, and coming back to the here and now. It is deeply brave to be excavating into this ancestral work and all of the layers that it holds. So I want to acknowledge you for diving deep, for asking the big questions, and for being courageous enough to listen to the answers. If you're interested in diving deeper into your soul's purpose, I invite you to come join me in the Dharma Coaching Institute, where we will spend 6 months together on you living your soul's purpose and actually learning how to become a soul purpose coach. You can find all of the information at dharmacoachinginstitute.com, and that link is in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you in the next one. Namaste.